You've waited a lifetime to look better and feel better, and now here's your chance. Fitness Friday on WNDB. Call 239-0033 and have your questions answered on health, fitness, and a better life. Fitness Friday is brought to you by Bodez by Tasso & Company, 1140 West Granada Boulevard in Ormond Beach. And now, here's your host, Tasso Kyriakis.
Thank you, Dave. Welcome to Fitness Friday. I don't know where to start. I got so much to talk about today. You know, it's like
really,
yeah.
Do you need maybe 2.5 hours today? Maybe you can arrange.
You know, Dave, you will really appreciate this. Last week, I had the privilege of speaking at the News Journal's Wellness and Health Seminar they had out at the Volusia Mall.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I got to do my presentation, and when I got out there, you know, I thought it was like a 13 or 14-minute presentation I was prepared to give. So so I went up for I went and gave the guy my jump drive key, and I said, for them to put in their computer, and I said, okay, so I got like, if I go 15 minutes, is that okay? He says, you have to talk a half hour. He says, you can talk a half hour, can't you? It's going to throw our schedule off. I said, don't worry.
He doesn't know you.
I can talk a half hour.
Talk a half hour and half a minute.
So I don't know where to start today, Dave, because I have an interesting research article. And then I had I had a nice conversation with a friend of mine last night who's sort of a big deal. I'm sort of envious of the things he's been able to do, but I also am not envious of him because the job security he has in what he does. But I'm going to start with this one. This is new research on interval training and the ability to give some people a challenging workout. And I'm trying to put this into terms that people can then take to their own fitness centers, because remember, I have some tools that they don't have being at Bodez. Right. So authors of a recent research article published in the Journal of Medicine and Science and Sports Exercise sought to determine the physiological effects of a classification of interval training that we now call burst training. Now we've mimicked this. You know, several years ago when I began to work with the SciFit company, for people who don't know, SciFit is a class of cardiovascular equipment that we have that was previously only available in cardiac rehab programs. That's what when the company was founded, that's what they want to do. Now, Denton Smith, who has joined us several times on this radio show over the years, is the president of that company. And when he became the president, he contacted me, he talked to me about, hey, Tasso, he says, I need you to try this equipment out and see if it has merit in the world of fitness clubs, okay? So a guy named Robert Allen, who owns 4 clubs down in Dallas, Texas, myself, and a couple guys called Fast Fitness up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we started out on a project. And we pulled in a buddy of ours from Ohio State who was an exercise science person, and a person from Oklahoma State who was an exercise science person. And we began to develop, because we were hearing about people who were doing interval training. But, you know, interval training has always been another option when you were doing cardiovascular training, and it is a very viable option. But what I was looking for was something that would decrease the time frame, because the realistic part is when you tell people to work as hard as they can, most people mentally can't sustain that for 30 or 40 seconds. And most interval training programs had you doing something for 30 seconds to a minute and a half, and then you take a little bit of time off. Like right. Popular, triathletes are very popular for doing 1 minute sprints, 1 minute rest, 1 minute sprints. And
they call them wind sprints.
Yeah, and they get a lot of, but most people don't have the mental discipline or aptitude to do that. So this review article was what's called a meta-analysis. I mean, it's a statistical tool that looked at a large group. It looked at 19 different case studies that were, in the inference they had to drawing to this, what they called sprint interval training. Now, again, we have a different tool, so we use a little different system to it. And I believe our system, based on the real results I'm reading through this, are getting more defined results, more predictable results. But what happens is, specifically in this SIT program, they did repetitions lasting 10 to 30 seconds. So we're in that category. Then they had a rest period that was 4 to 5 times as long as that rest period. So if you did a 10-second burst, you did a 40-second rest, okay? If you did a 30-second burst, you did basically a 2-minute rest, okay? Now, again, I think the reason they had to use these type of rest periods, because we find that we need shorter time frames and a little more rest periods, is because they didn't need to, they didn't have the tool that we have in SciFit, okay? Now, in their studies, they did a total of 12 repetitions. In other words, they did 6 intervals or 6 sessions, okay? And you could use basically any kind of thing. The workout I've made up for this to go along with this article is you could use a bike, you could use a treadmill, you could use a Stairmaster, whatever you want to use. So the authors concluded in this study that the evidence suggests that it's very effective improving VO2 max uptake, the aerobic capacity. Now what VO2 max uptake is that efficiency with which you take in oxygen and put out carbon dioxide. And then, but the key factor for us, and the key factor for people who listen to the show, it has not only effect on aerobic performance, but it has an effect on the glycemic control of insulin sensitivity. Now, what do I mean by that? We constantly talk about what happens to our body as we eat food, okay? What's the response of our body? If we have too much insulin, our body stores fat very efficiently, okay? If we have too little insulin, we then tend to, and too low a sugar content, we then tend to burn lean body tissue, which is not very good either. So you see a lot of times when you get on these low-calorie diets, and they're higher protein, which think about the logic of it. If you go to a low-calorie diet, you absolutely need to be higher in your protein content so that you can maintain some facsimile of lean body tissue being available, because your body can use the protein to produce carbohydrates, or it can use it to produce muscle, depending on what the need of the body is. Unfortunately, in the very, very low-calorie diets, the 500, the 800 calorie a day diets, what happens is you begin to take that protein and you use it and convert it to energy for carbohydrates, and then you burn your lean body tissue. So when you lose, for instance, I did an evaluation on a person who was doing a low-calorie diet, and they were trying to over-exercise. They had lost 38 pounds on the program. But 8 of those pounds they had lost was lean body tissue. So they'd actually gotten a little bit fatter. They'd actually gone from being like 32% fat to 33.5% body fat. So in my mind, they stayed about the same based on statistical error, how I measure and stuff like that. Because I'm plus or minus a percentage when I measure people, okay? So I look at that and I go, why is that happening? Because they were over-exercised. Now, we got them to adjust, and we got them to go to the protocol we like to use, because we do use a lower calorie program. But when we do that, we do when Ruthie over at Metabolic Research will send me somebody, I will start them out, and there'll be like 3 strength training exercises and 6 minutes of cardiovascular exercise, and only twice a week. That's more than enough when you're having a sub-1,000 calorie intake. So we have to look at rest and recovery. So now and I want to just make because I get the thing of you're always banging on aerobic exercise and group exercise. This is not one of those kind of things. I'm not saying that traditional cardiovascular exercise can be totally replaced by sprint intervals, but the fact of the matter is, if you tell a non-athlete, if you tell a non-performance person, a person who doesn't exercise, go out and do 40 minutes of exercise, that's arduous to them. Yeah. But if I could say to you, and I can prove this to people, if I could say to you, give me 6 minutes on an interval training program, and I can begin to improve your cardiovascular fitness. And let me tell you one of the areas, because of the transition through the different hormones that we see occur in the different stages that you go through in the fight or flight response with this, because in essence, that's what we're doing. We're stimulating a sympathetic and parasympathetic response. If we take a person and get them on an exercise program where we take them through this intensity, we're seeing results with people who have COPD. Why? Because we're downgrading the inflammation level that they have by this thing. So I think the biggest value of this burst and interval training, and the more efficient it is, we can take people that can do 6-second burst, and they derive huge benefit, and they fatigue themselves as well. We can do that because we have a superior tool in the SciFit. And at the end of this little discussion, I'm going to give people a sample workout that they can do. So of all the participants, here's some things I noticed in going through the recap of this. Of all the participants in the studies, not one significant injury was reported. Why is that significant to me? Because people who are endurance athletes, who do a lot of cardiovascular, they tend to get so excited about what they're doing, they tend to get an overuse injury because they do it every day, all day. Again, going back to the SciFit equipment that we have, one of the benefits of that SciFit equipment is that you never go the same direction more than 30 seconds. So you're always balancing the workload on both sides of the joint,
Right.
whether you're doing an upper body movement or a lower body movement. Okay. I also like the fact that our ISO strength is the protocol we have can really fatigue you in that 6 to 12 second time frame. So it's not a long time. So endurance athletes have always been told that in order to build a base of aerobic fitness, you must do hours and hours of low intensity running, biking, and that type of thing. This research would suggest that we can stimulate the same improvements with just the opposite, shorter, intense exercise. So this goes back to, there was a young man in my office the other day who's beginning to work for us, and he said, so how would you train an endurance athlete? And I said, no different than how I train any athlete or any person. The bottom line is we have to give them more muscle, which is a bigger engine, and we have to make that muscle work more efficiently, which we don't do 3-hour workouts when we do. We do 20-minute workouts when we do. So we still are going, and it's going to be interesting because his goal is to be an elite triathlete, and so we're going to be working with him from that standpoint. Now, the third thing I pulled out of this study is that non-athletes looking to improve fitness can do so in far less time than they previously assumed, just like I said earlier in the thing. So consider this for a really powerful workout on more traditional equipment in whatever gym you're in. First of all, take a 5 to 10 minute warm-up where you gradually increase the intensity through the warm-up. Then put yourself through a 20-second all-out effort, okay? 20-second all-out effort. Then rest for about a minute and a half, okay? And that minute and a half rest should involve very, very low intensity, like very slow walking, okay? Very slow pedaling, okay? Repeat that for a total of 10 cycles, okay? In other words, 5 times doing it, okay? And then you can add up to 10 cycles of the interval, okay? Then cool down for 3 to 5 minutes, okay? So you're looking at, if you do 12, if you were to do the maximum, I tell you, do 12 cycles, okay? You have a 20-second burst. You have a minute and 20-second rest. That's a minute and 40 seconds. That's less than 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's a 24-minute workout, okay? That's going to be complete from the standpoint of it, with the 5 minutes on either side for warm-up and cool down. So I think that's very, very, very important from that standpoint for making people. That's like when you're writing a paper in 5th grade, it has to be 35 words. So you guys, very, 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 very important. Okay, so I think it's very important from that standpoint. So and all this science that we're beginning to see come forward in the world of exercise. I think one of the, and I'm gonna talk about it a little. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, actually 2 good friends. I had a conference call the other night, and it was really sort of neat because I was telling them the direction I've been going, the direction that Bodez goes, and I should probably take a promotional minute and say, hopefully you want to get in shape and you want to be better.
Right.
I can't change that for you. You have to have that dedication to do that. But if you do have that desire to change your body, to have more energy, to have more vitality, Bodez is offering a tremendous program right now. You can come in and start your membership for only a $14 investment. Now you're going to pay $14 to enroll. You're going to pay a little $20 card fee. So it's going to be $34 plus tax. That's going to pay your enrollment fee, which is normally $199, and it's going to pay your first month's dues, which is either $59 or $29, depending on which membership you choose to do.
That's a big savings.
It's a big savings. So in that first month, that $36 investment is equivalent to about a $250 investment to get you started. And then after that, all you have is your monthly fees for your membership, okay? And I really want to introduce people to what we're doing in our Body Coach program because, we're introducing some new things. And these are sort of big announcements. And you want to get in on the front end of this because when you join my club, if you join this day at this rate for a general membership, your rate stays the same. One of my premises of my business is do right. And, when a person comes to work for me, I say, look, there's 3 reasons I'll hire you to work for me. Number 1, you're committed to excellence. Number 2, I can build trust in you and you can trust me. Number 3 is that you truly care about people, okay? Now, I have 5 corollaries of how you do your job and what our job entails. Number 1 is to do your best. I don't need to hire superstars. I don't need to hire bodybuilders or elite athletes,
Right.
although I have some of those people. Is what I bring onto my team is people that every time they walk in the door, they just want to do the best job that they can do. Because if they're trustworthy and they're committed to excellence, they care about people, they're going to do a great job to their value. Okay. The second thing I ask them is number one, to treat people the way you'd want to be treated in the same situation. Okay. So when you come in to work out after work, do you really want to worry about whether you're going to be able to get on that machine, or the machine's going to be clean, or there's going to be someone friendly there to greet you? No. You want to come in, you want to get your workout, you want it to be hassle-free, and you don't want to worry about some guy sitting on your machine with his headphones on doing 6 sets of the exercise, and you just want to get on there and get it done so you can get home to your family,
Right.
okay? In our body coach system, it is driven by a body coach on the floor who what they do is they are moving everybody through the system. There is a card-controlled environment. So there's always someone there to help, supervise, hold your hand to get you through it, okay?
You know, I've gone to work out at that other place. You know, the one with the letters.
Yeah, the YMCA.
The
The
one
YMCA,
the one the village people.
The village people refer people to. Yeah, I understand.
And I'll go to do the chest press, and there's a guy sitting on there reading the newspaper, sitting on the machine reading the paper.
Between sets.
I don't even know if he was between sets or what, but he was sitting there reading the paper. And, you know, and I was, can I get you a chair?
Yeah.
You know, it irritates me when you see
Well,
people doing that. Or texting or whatever.
Yeah. You know, and that you know, workout should be serious. I mean, what we're talking about here and talking about the interval training I talked about, we're talking about intensity. Your strength training workout should have intensity. Your cardiovascular workout should have a level of intensity to it that changes the body physiologically. One of the comments I made at a presentation I made was, listen, all activities are not exercise, because exercise by definition is supposed to change the physiology of the body. Let me not digress. Let me go back to talking about those 5 principles of things that my employees and team members have to understand when they come in. Number 1 is treat people the way you want to be treated. Number 2 is that number 2 is going to be that you practice the fundamentals. You know, you do the best you can, but practice the fundamentals. The fundamentals of a body's team member are, listen, you're enthusiastic, you clean, you keep the place clean, you call members by name, you make sure the equipment is good and working, and you're in there caring about those members. That's our fundamentals. If we were a football team, we'd block, we'd punt, we'd pass, we'd kick, we'd run. You know, in our cases, keep the place clean, coach the people, call them by name when you coach them, compliment them, help them to learn better. And the cleanliness of the club is one of the most important things for us.
It really is.
Okay, so then now we come back to number 4 of those, what we call corollaries of action of running this club, is pride in the institution you work for. In other words, I don't fire very many people, because I think people find out whether they want to be part of our organization or not from the start. But if I were ever to fire someone right on the spot, which I have done, here's why it would be, is they violated this particular credo for our organization, which is pride in the institution you work for. And that's this. Number 1 is when you're out in public, you want to represent the role and be good. And then Dave's handing me notes on the thing here. We want to look the example. We want to be with pride that we work at Bodez Personalized Fitness. But I tell them like this from the start. I say, look, if you work at McDonald's, you don't eat at Burger King, because they're 2 different styles of restaurants, although they're both fast food restaurants. At Bodez, we practice the knowledge training principles. So the guys that work for me, I want them to learn those principles, because if they're not walking the walk and talking the walk, listen, EJ Qualley, who is becoming a great personal trainer for us and still has several years left in his professional football career, you know, EJ, the first time he came to work out, was about ready to fight me, because what I told him was so different than what he'd been doing.
Right.
And when he went through his first workout, it was so different from what he did. Now he understands. You know, EJ was on this show with us about 2 years ago when he first was training with us. And what he understands now about that training is it is a different training that delivers results. We have an extreme pleasure training some athletes getting ready for the NFL Combines. One of the young men just had a great performance in the NFLPA player game that was on ESPN2, you know, Nick Williams. He had a great performance out there. You know, this is all new to him. He's constantly asking questions because it's so different than what he did, that traditional stuff. Well, you know, Arthur Jones said, hey, listen, the traditional stuff, it was spawned by bodybuilders. It was spawned by people who are genetic freaks. You know, they could go out and lift cement and they're going to have great bodies. I mean, really. I mean, look, there's those people that you walk around. They're the beautiful people in the world.
I know.
They have a great body no matter what. You go, hey, what do you do working out? I don't work out. I don't do anything. All I do is eat biscuits, know. And you wonder, they're genetically blessed. There's athletes like that. There's some of us had to work our butts off, and some that, that didn't have to work hard. They had the great genetic potential. So that private institutions, they need to learn and apply and walk the walk and talk the talk. Well, the final one is the most important one to me, is do right. Do right to me means this. I don't run a club that this month my membership fee is $50 a month. And next month, because people won't be joining as quickly, it's $10 a month.
Yeah.
What we do, we offer promotional things, but I can tell you, if there's a person paying $33 a month, and there's a person paying $39 a month, and there's a person paying $49 a month, and there's a person paying $59 a month, I can tell you exactly why they're paying those different fees, because they joined at different times. That guy that's paying $33 a month, which there happens to be about 350 of those people in my club, they've been with me since 1990 to 1994. They joined my club. Can you imagine that? The average retention of a fitness center is 14 months. We have 327 members, I think it is, that have been with us since the time period of 1990 to 1994. Okay?
That's 24 years.
Yeah. And in 1994, for a brief period of time, our rates were $39.50 a month when we were building a new club. And in 1995, when we opened the new club to about 2007, our rates were $49.50 a month. And now if you join our club today, it's $59.50 a month, because we deliver more value, more service, more results, more care to you in what we do. So those are the things that we've done in our program to make sure that we do right. So that's why it's such a special arrangement that we do with this $14 enrollment fee. It's $14 to enroll. It pays your first month's dues. You will pay a $20 card fee, which is your little swipe card so we can track you. So that aspect of it is very it's important to us that we offer opportunities, because we have a mission that we want to do. Our mission is to be the right hand of the medical industry. So this is a long prelude to a conversation I had last night with a friend of mine named Luke Carlson, who is from Minnesota and owns a great club chain called Discover Strength. And then Mark Asanovich, who you'll remember Mark Asanovich because he called us, I want to say it was about 7 years ago. Right. Maybe more than that. Lamar Glenn.
I can't remember who called yesterday.
Lamar Glenn had been drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of FSU. And Lamar was over at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Mark Asanovich had gotten my name from the Dale Griffin, who was the Nautilus representative for the Southeastern United States. Because Mark's complaint was, I'm over here in Tampa. I'm using Arthur Jones training principles, and I don't have anybody here that understands them to help me train my trainers. So Dale Griffin said, Mark, call Tasso. He's a good guy. He'll probably come over. So I got this call from Mark Asanovich. I said, Mark, I'd love to do it, because you actually have one of our kids that we trained from high school, from Seabreeze High School, that went to Florida State, has been drafted by you guys. So I got up for 6 weeks. I would get in my car at 3:30 in the morning, and I would drive every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to Tampa Bay, and get there at number one Buck Place till 5:30 in the morning. And I would help him train there. At first it was 107 athletes, then it went down to 87 athletes, then it went down to 53 athletes. And at that time I got to meet Tony Dungy, because Tony was the coach of the Bucks at that point. And then Mark followed Tony Dungy to the Colts, and then actually Mark ended up being the head strength training coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars for a couple years when they went to the playoffs when what's his name? It's the Giants coach. Anyway, long story short, we start talking, and I say, listen, my goal is to, and I asked him this question, okay, and I don't want to offend anybody, because, listen, I respect the time and education that physicians put in, but I asked Luke and Mark this question. I said, guys, tell me something. When you think of physicians, do you think of them as healers? Are they healers? Do they heal people, or do they just make life tolerable for people? And ask yourself that question. When you think you're a physician, whether they're good or bad physicians, whether they're great guys that you know personally and love going to, they're great people. But are they truly healers, or do they take what is at their hands and their education and give us status quo to stop the danger of what we're going through. And my point to them was they are people who now manage our health, okay? They don't really, that disease continuum that I've been talking about now for 2 or 3 years, that we move down where we get our blood to be syrupy and thick and we have to go to the doctor and get medications and our body becomes inflamed because of our CRPs get elevated. Our CRPs is C-reactive protein, which you should, when you have your test with your physician, ask him to test that. It's a measure of systemic inflammation to the body. And it's a very useful tool to seeing what your risk is to a lot of things that are going on that we consider lifestyle diseases, the arthritises, the thyroids, the hormone imbalance, all these things. So I said, I think we have a duty and an opportunity and responsibility as personal trainers that we can become healers. And this got us on this conversation. Here was my conversation. It says, the Hippocratic Oath is credited to the ancient Greek philosopher and physician Hippocrates, taken by the physician and healthcare professionals. The most well-known tenet is translated to say, first, do no harm. This is a fantastic starting point when you're considering an exercise program, because an exercise program should be something that helps you. Okay, so we continue our conversation last night. We're talking about this. So now we were talking, and I remembered. And Mark says, "I got to tell you something." He says he reflected on. He was up in Ohio. He was telling, and he made a presentation. Okay, and his presentation was very confrontational and not well received by the audience. He said, in fact, there was some guy that wanted to fist fight him. Okay. For the things he said. He said, and I said, well, why, Mark? He said, because Mark questioned the popular practices and trends like Olympic weightlifting, fast speeds of movement, plyometric training, and strength training, called them out to be dangerous. His message was very simple. Our strength, we have a role as a fitness professional, and as an allied fitness person first, we have a role to do things that are done safely. Okay, so we really have this intertwined in what our responsibility is as trainers. We have this Hippocratic Oath. So he says this really shouldn't be a controversial topic. After all, the definition of exercise should be to improve physical function, not decrease it. Now going back to one of my favorite guys to quote, Arthur Jones, he put it very succinctly. He said,
"You're gonna do it in his voice?"
No, I don't think I do it. My voice is raspy today. He said,
"So is his."
He said, exercise should help to avoid exercise, not cause injury. So and it's and I remember Arthur talking about plyometrics very first time. Now, and personally, I feel the very same way about what I see in the world right now going on with boot camps and with CrossFit and those type of things. Listen, those things are great for people who are healthy and can do them. But one of the news stories that came out last week was one of the elite CrossFit trainers broke his back in an elite competition doing the activities that they do because there's so much force generated. Now again, you can't fight West Point because West Point's actually usually trained to cadets. But think about it. They got the best of the best. These kids are elite kids in their function. They don't let a kid into West Point that has joint issues or arthritis or anything like that. They feed them good. They make them rest good. They work them hard. Okay? All right. And there's a lot of the CrossFit going on out there. And I understand they're trying to change some of their tenets. But the fact of the matter is, for most people going in an exercise program, and I'd say as much as 85% of the people, they need to be looking at the safety of a program. If it doesn't improve function, and in fact has a negative impact on health or function, it really is an exercise. It's probably been classified as a sport or as a physical activity. So, Mark was real clear about exercise carries with it potential for acute or chronic injury, and it shouldn't be performed if it has that potential. Now, that thing resonated with me when Mark told me that story, because we were tied into this conversation, and we really looked at that, and we wanted to look at it, and we looked together at the practices and trends and classes and methodology, and this is how we got in this conversation. So I think it's important that, number one, if you're out there and you're a trainer, you need to look at the Hippocratic Oath. You need to know that we have an obligation to improve people's fitness, not harm it. So first, do no harm. And it actually finds its historical origins in what's called the Hippocratic corpus, not oath, that was generally credited to Hippocrates but probably was actually authored by a number of philosophers and physicians over a much larger period of time. But the thing about it is we look today at the things we do, and we have to make sure that when we take in consideration our clients that we work with, we have to make sure that they are deriving benefit. Now, I understand that there are challenges to getting involved in a fitness program, especially if you come with a history. There are people who have worked out hard and have gotten hurt working out hard because maybe they didn't compromise their form, or maybe they did compromise their form when they were working out. So it's very important that when we teach someone how to exercise, Dave, we talk about pace, posture, position, and progression. Those things are first. It's not about how much weight you can lift. It's not about how long you can work out. Remember, the average workout time of a Bodez one-on-one client is probably 20 to 25 minutes. That includes their strength training session and their cardio session. And we don't train 6 days a week. We train 2 times a week. We got people train 3 days a week because psychologically they just need it. There's some people that need 6 days a week. But the thing about it is when we take a program, we have to view the personal levels of each one of those people that we're taking into the program. And we look at their medical history and their physical history, and we go to that aspect and we design that program. You're going to enjoy that when you go through the program that we have called Body Coach. It's a $14 enrollment, and it's a $20 card fee, so it's $34 to get started. It's going to include your first month's dues, and then you're going to go forward. And I want that message to resonate with you, that when I look at us as trainers, I don't look at just your weight loss people or your muscle building people or your bodybuilders. What we we should be healers. We should be people who enhance your health, increase your vitality, bring your energy on, those types of things. We got a caller.
We do.
All right. Hey, welcome to Fitness Friday.
Hey, Toss, it's John Penny.
Hey, John. My candidate for mayor in Holly Hill.
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. Come on, can you do the announcement on my show instead of Mark's show? Hi, I'm John Penny, and I want to run for mayor of Holly Hill.
Yeah.
And Mark will be going, what the heck? He doesn't have a politician show.
Yeah. Oh, my. Hey, I heard you guys talking about, health and wellness and personalized fitness. And I shared this story with some people the other day when I've been working out with Tasso under supervised exercise for about a little more than 2 years. And something just hit me that this place isn't a gym. It's a place where Tasso and his staff give personalized treatment. And I would add the word, you're talking health and wellness, I would add rehabilitation. Because I saw a gentleman come in when I was working out. I was working out, doing some burst exercises, working really hard. And a gentleman came in that could hardly walk. And it was quite clear that there was something wrong with him. Maybe he'd had a stroke. And I saw Tasso, who's the rough and tough, crazy Greek guy that we all know, helping this elderly man down the stairs to get him to a point where he could just walk and eventually drive himself and get better. And I've been there for over 2 years, and it just really hit me that this is not a gym. It's not a fitness center. It's a place where you can just be the best that you can be. And it really hit me. It was kind of one of those aha moments, and I just wanted to call and share that with listeners and potential clients, that you are a different place to go to, Tasso, and I really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that, John, and it is what we do. It goes back to the personalized care. I remember the first business card I had. It said quality results achieved on a personal and committed to excellence basis, and that's what we've done. When you first came in, you were relatively healthy, but what we do, we sat down and we talked about the history of injuries, the history of surgeries. That program going into one-on-one needed to be personalized to you. And it's not a cut program. It's like you can buy a lot of great programs on the internet. And in fact, I think that those programs on the internet and on the TV and infomercials have had a great effect on the health club business in this country. I think that they've probably raised the bar or raised the convenience of health clubs, because we see $10 fitness centers. We see facilities that are 24/7 access. We chose to make a conscious decision several years ago and said, listen, we're going to go towards being a service-oriented adult fitness center. And we have an interesting dichotomy, which we have elite athletes like the Nick Williams, the E.J. Quallys, and the people, the Paul Rices who are triathletes and people like that. And then we have the guys like Jim that you saw. The oldest client we have in one-on-one is 96 years old. And listen, that workout that 96-year-old is not the same that the workout that John Penny does, or not the same as Nick Williams does. It is a workout that is geared to their personal needs. And sometimes it's hard to push through, because I don't even think that personal trainers understand that concept that are out there trying to build a career now. They think they wear their badge of merit by how hard a workout. Now, I can give a hard workout. I remember when we first started the Bodez, and it was in the 800 square foot over at Omega 40 in the racquetball court. People called it, T-Hop, Tasso's House of Pain, and Tasso's House, Stacy Nerler, who was the former manager of Black Crow, would call it Tasso's House of Horrors, because people would be in there screaming and work, and we could give hard workouts. But the one lesson I learned as I aged, I said, we have to adapt this program, and we have the adaptions that we call time under intensity, and that's how we manage so that everybody can make progress. The one thing I will caution people is don't come expecting to get results when you've been doing things negatively for 30 years, that you want results today like that. And that's the problem. We'll talk a little bit after you're off, John, but I'm going to talk a little about people who go into diets and they expect quick results. And that's the only thing they guide the success of that program by. And to me, I want to keep, just like I have that 327 members that have been with me since 1990, every member I sign up, I want to keep for 25 years as a member, not 14 months. And, so
I think the big thing that people right now, they're focusing on, losing that Christmas weight and everything right now. And the big excuse is I don't have time. And I know it takes me 15 minutes to do my workout with you. So from the time I walk in the door, change my clothes, work out, freshen up, change back in, it's a half an hour. You're in and out. So there really is no excuse to take care of yourself. And
then you only work out 1 to 2 days a week, but you also get you teach spinning at the Y, so you get a workout there. And it's like the other thing is, we were teasing your dad's getting ready to come to me, and he said to me the other day, you say, my dad's on this weird eating program, and I go, really, what's he doing? I'm expected to hear the cabbage diet. And you go, he's on this thing called the Daniel diet. I said, well, tell him to get his butt in here, because I'm doing the Daniel diet. He needs to do it right with me, kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that style of eating, because it flies in the face of some of the things that we've that I've taught for 35 years. Breakfast is the most important meal. You got to eat every 3 hours all through the day whenever you're awake. But the program that you talk about it, and a lot of this is changing the culture of our metabolism, the culture of our bodies, because we are bombarded so much because of stress and because of the foods we eat out and stuff like that by toxins and things. We've got to look at these things that are fasting and real disciplined eating programs, so that we really get ourselves going in the right direction. So, but I appreciate your input, John, as always. Man. And listen, remember us when you get ready to make your announcement. So,
okay.
We can have some significantly important thing we do.
Okay, I'll see you later, Todd.
All right. Hey, listen, we're going to take a break and come back. I want to remind everybody, $14 to enroll starts your membership. That offer expires on the 14th of February, so get in and get involved with us. The phone number is 672-6464. We'd love to have you become a member of Bodez Personalized Fitness. You can start with either our Bodez Express program, our Body Coach program, or a personalized one-on-one program where we sit with you and we make sure that you are on track to what you want to be. We'll start you where you're at and get you where you want to be. We'll be back in 3 minutes. We'll talk a little bit about eating patterns and some other issues around fitness.
Foreseeing less paperwork and more casework. If you can take on another partner, which clients are paying on time and which are not? The advantage of having all your invoices all in one place. Not to mention easier ways to get paid. For seeing your business's cash flow from a new perspective, there's the Enhanced Cash Flow Insight, powered by PNC CFO, a powerful suite of online tools that now syncs with popular accounting software, so you can save time and put your cash flow to work. Try it at no cost today. Stop by any PNC branch or visit pnc.com/cashflowinsight to learn more. PNC Bank, for the achiever in you. Cashflow Insight requires a PNC business checking account and enrollment in PNC Online Banking. Offer valid during your current statement cycle period and 2 additional statement cycles. For more information, call a Cashflow Insight consultant at 855-762-2361. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
This February 21st and 22nd at Daytona International Speedway, 2 NASCAR series start their seasons with those 4 famous words. Drivers, start your engines. And that means fans, start your cheers. Start your anticipation. Start your hopes and expectations, because this is the start of the season as only Daytona can do it, with 2 of the most exciting races of the NASCAR season on the high banks of the world center of racing. The stars of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series kick things off with their biggest race of the year in the NextEra Energy Resources 250, Friday night, February 21st. And a star-packed field of top drivers come together to start the NASCAR Nationwide Series season in the Drive for COPD 300, Saturday, February 22nd. Kids 12 and under are free. To guarantee your seats, call 1-800-PIT-SHOP or visit Daytona500.com.
Hey, it's time to get the let out. That's right, get off the couch and keep that promise to yourself to be a new, better, slimmer, and more energetic you. Tasso here at Bodez Personalized Fitness, located in Ormond Beach, Florida. The foundation of any life-changing program is having a positive environment, support, and a success plan. At Bodez Personalized Fitness, we've been changing lives through fitness for over 30 years through positive support and plans that work. That's why Bodez is not your typical gym or fitness center. Discover the Bodez difference today. Start your journey for only $14. That includes your first month's dues. That's right, $14 to start, and it includes your first month's dues. We'll guide your program in a comfortable way that will get you started at your level. Your first 3 workouts will be supervised by appointment to personalize your plan. Then our staff will supervise your program every workout along the way for success. Call 672-6464. That's 672-6464 for the Bodez $14 offer. Start today and get your first month's dues free.
Call 239-0033 for Fitness Friday and your host, Tasso Kyriakis. Here's Tasso.
Those kind of people need to work out more, I think.
You think?
I think.
It's a stress thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Hey, listen, talking about stress,
Right.
let's give a big plug to my friend Dr. Lorenzo Fahn, located at 725 West Granada.
And that's P-H-A-N for
P-H-A-N
those who are
for
searching
Fahn.
his name.
And his phone number is 615-1203. Dr. Fahn is a co-sponsor of the Fitness Friday show here. Every third Friday, he is in here with his testimony. Like last week, we had 2 doctors, and we had a call in from the fastest man in the United States, Curtis Mitchell, who is one of my training clients, and we've been able to rehab him from a very badly injured hamstring, and he's doing awesome, and he's 5th ranked in the world right now. And so we had Dr. Sitch, right, the surgeon. And we had Dr. Harrison, and we had Curtis call in and talk about the great things that Dr. Fahn's been able to do. But I still think, this week when we were talking earlier about Nick Williams from University of North Alabama and played 3 years for the University of Georgia, and he played in the NFLPA's All-Star game this week. And out there, he twisted and injured his ankle. So his running has been at a minimum this week. But what we did was send him over to Dr. Fahn, because Dr. Fahn is very good with traumatic injuries. Another one of my friends who's a businessman, I sent over to Dr. Fahn for stress reduction. I said, look, dude, you need to just pick one day a week, every week. I do Thursday afternoon, because about Thursday afternoon, I begin to run down after the hectic schedule we run, especially in January. And I block out that 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock time, drive down to Dr. Fahn's, wait my turn, get in the office, and have him do a stress reduction treatment on me. I feel good. I was energized. I slept so great last night. I got up ready to go today. And my day starts at about 4 in the morning and ends about 9:30 at night, and I go to bed about 11:30. And I usually get home between 6 and 8 o'clock in the evening. So I got pretty long days.
You get a nap in there anywhere?
They're very active. Well, actually, last week I did take a nap in the middle of the day. I said,
You need to.
Well, one day I was really tired, so I went into our relaxation chairs at the club, and I closed the lights so no one would see me in there, and I closed the door, and I put the thing on and took a nice 15 minutes.
Did it put you out, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I relaxed and do that. So I want to tell you, Dr. Fahn does a great job working with traumatic injuries, cancer survivors. He really, he works for such a broad spectrum of people, sort of like the people we train with. It doesn't matter if you want to lose weight, gain weight, get over an injury, get over rehab, you got to do this. It's that personal touch that he does, and he has the experience and the training to be able to do that, as we heard about last week. So Dr. Fahn, Dr. Lorenzo Fahn, Acupuncture and Beauty, 615-1203. Give him a call. Tell him you heard about him on Bodez by Tasso and Company show or the Fitness Friday show. and tell him that you want a free consultation. Tasso said he'd give it. So go ahead and do that. So, Dave, we have about 10 minutes left. I wish we'd get some calls in because I've talked about a lot of things today. 239-0033 is the phone number to call in. And I want to talk to all those people who are out there and they're on weight loss programs right now. And I want you to be very cautious of some of the errors that are made when you go on these weight loss programs. Number one is I think that one of the very big errors that is done is that we begin to look at no-fat alternatives, okay? And I think we do need full-fat products in our diet. Do we need moderation of those? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Do we still need to have red meat in our diet? Absolutely. You know, picking good red meat like you do at the natural food stores where you can go in and get grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or buying from Beyond Organic or someone like that. I think you need those kind of products, and you need the full fat because it's very important in the hormonal system. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the big mistakes is we begin to calorie count, we begin to look at fat as a villain, and we begin to cut that back. I think the next thing is I think we begin to cut our calories down. We begin to look at our calories need to go down. What happens when our calories go down is our energy goes down, and then as a result we can begin to lose lean body tissue. Okay, so number one is let's look at the source of food, not get too crazy and looking at only low fat or no fat stuff. Get the full fat. Enjoy the flavors. There is a principle of satiation that's important. Second one is when we start to look at our calories we take in, let's keep a reasonable amount. I mean, men should be no lower than 1,800 calories. Women should be no lower than 1,200 calories. And if you're active, you need a lot more than that. If you're exercising regularly, you need to be a lot more than that. If you are, the third thing is if you are on these 500 or 600 or 700 calories, listen, I'm not going to knock those. I mean, people have to go in at where their level is at. I don't particularly agree with them, but I understand the origin of them. But they're based on deprivation in many cases. They're based on having to take a lot of other supplements, which I'm completely for taking supplements, especially in weight loss programs. I think you need to fortify yourself. But the one thing I want to say about these low-calorie programs is you cannot then go out and try to be Captain Destructo when it comes to working out. You've got to say, I've got to manage. I've got to understand this principle of load on my body. That load comes from my workouts I do. It comes from my business dealings. It comes from my personal life. It comes from my family life. It comes from my medical history. I have a load on my body. My body needs to every day recover from that load. Now, under normal dietary situation, where you're eating good calories, okay, where you're taking enough calories in, where you're getting the full fat products and that type of thing, when you're doing that, you require rest for that. If you're taking in too little calories, you need more rest, okay? So think about this. You have this load on your body of stress, mental, physical, all this stuff going on, mechanical stress. And then you add to it the physical stress of working out. Then you add the mental stress of your work. Okay, we want to manage that, and we want to make sure we get enough rest and enough recovery between workouts and those sessions that put that stress on. And we want to make sure we nourish our body. It goes back to the principle of our 3 pillars of a program that helps you be successful. It's eating good nutrition. It's managing strength training so that you maintain your lean body tissue, and it's doing moderate aerobic exercise. We do not need exercise. So there we go to the next thing that I want to caution you about is do not over-exercise and under-eat. Okay? You have to straighten up your eating because the one thing I've discovered is you cannot out-exercise your eating habits. In other words, you can't be a guy that eats lots and lots of food and think that you're exercised, no matter how much you exercise. I mean, they tell people the Galloway program, which was a program that gets people running marathons, they tell you the outside of it. If you want to run a marathon, don't do it to lose weight because you're going to gain weight during this program. That's what you do in most cases. Why do they want people to eat more when they run a marathon? Because they're putting a lot of stress on their body. They're running 5 days a week. They were smart in how they designed their program. Mm-hmm. So we need to be conscious of that and cautious of that. So we want to look at the quality of food we're taking and putting in. We want to look at the caloric intake. If you are on a very low-calorie diet, then manage the other stress that's going to your body, wearing it out. Again, I'm not saying to not do them because, listen, I would choose to guide you in a different manner. You know, I'm doing the Daniel diet, which is my diet. I average about 2,000 calories a day on a fast and cleanse type of program. Now, I have fast and cleanse that I'll do because we know the benefits of intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting helps longevity, helps the telomeres become healthier, which is sort of the marker for your aging process. It helps you with the weight loss, helps you to detoxify your body, okay? I don't think we need fasting things that do things like put cayenne pepper in your body.
Yeah.
We don't need those kind of things.
Yeah.
We're not doing fasting for fast weight loss. We do fasting, in the religious sense. And fasting has two purposes.
Mm-hmm.
The true fast, and the Daniel fast is consistent with this. Fasting is you're supposed to eat cheaper foods because you save money by eating cheaper foods, like fruits and vegetables are cheaper than meats and fishes and stuff, and you give that to the poor to help the poor out, okay? The second part of it is it's to return us to the Garden of Eden where there was no killing required. We're not eating meat, so we're not killing any fellow animals and stuff like that. So the core philosophies of fasting are great. Now,
I thought it was about denial for some reason.
Well, maybe you could put it that way, Dave, because denial is, what am I going to give up so I can help someone else? See, I don't think of it, when, for instance, we just did a fast period, and the young lady from Bethune-Cookman that lives with us, and my daughter and I, we made sandwiches with my son-in-law and that, and we had an event for my mom, and we took those sandwiches, and we took them down over here around the corner to the ministry.
Sure.
And I love what Demetria does because she did it during Christmas. She did it during New Year. And it may have only been peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because that's what her budget could afford. But she went out and gave to the community. Well, fasting is not about denial. Fasting is about let's improve the universe, the cosmos that we're in, right? Because when I save money, I have more money to help people. When I don't eat meats, the Daniel diet, what you eat is basically pulp. If you can put it in the ground, it would grow. It's you're eating vegetables, you're eating fruits, you're eating seeds, you're eating nuts. Okay. Now it's very effective for weight loss because what's it do? It cleanses out a lot of the interstitial. It delivers a lot of nutrition to the body, and that's why I enjoy doing it. And I like to do it about once a quarter for 10 days. And I find that my energy goes up. On this particular one, I'm losing a little more weight because I'm being a little more strict about it. But usually I don't lose a lot of weight. I have guys will average anywhere from 14 to 17 pounds in 10 days with it, and they'll keep about 12 of that off. Some of it's water weight. But it's a very healthy way of eating. It's high in fiber. When I figure my 2,000 calories, I'm taking about 85 grams of protein. I'm getting about 45 grams of fiber in my system. So, and that's not for everybody. Everybody's not going to do that program. Some people are going to do our Take It Off program. Some people are going to do our Take Shape for Life program because they need that low-calorie thing and they don't want to prepare their food. Right. Whatever it is, that's what Bodez is about. And again, I want to encourage you to take advantage of the $14 enrollment. Get your membership started. It includes your first month's dues plus pays your enrollment fee. What you do is you get involved in a program where you have access to a great programming system. This year, one thing I probably should have focused more on the show is group exercise is coming back to Bodez Personalized Fitness. We are very close to finalizing a deal that will bring a product called Fitness on Demand to Bodez. And next week I'll spend a lot of time talking about Fitness on Demand and our new Appointment with Fitness program, which is part of our Body Coach. The Appointment with Fitness program gives you is an attempt to give you some of the accountability that a one-on-one program gives you. Basically, what you do is you say, I'm going to work out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I'm going to say that I'm going to work out in the time frame of 8 to 12 on Monday and 12 to 4 on Wednesday, and on Friday I'll be here between 10 and 2. And that way we track that you're coming in. If you do not come in, we just make a fun phone call or text to you that says, hey, listen, Dave, notice that you didn't make it in today. Please get into Bodez. Because let's face it, the hardest thing, the reason people don't join health clubs is they're afraid of that commitment, and they're afraid of being able to stick with the program. Well, what most clubs don't give you, and what we try and strive to give you, is that accountability to the program. And we're trying to do that accountability without the huge investment to some people of getting involved in a one-on-one program. When health is an issue, you'll pay anything to get it back. Our program, our one-on-one programs average anywhere from $30 per session all the way up to, if you're training with me, you're spending about $100 a session. It's what you want to invest.
I hear you're worth it.
I don't know. I get people results. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So the phone number is 672-6464. I've really enjoyed today's show. I hope you have enjoyed today's show. You can go to bodezfitness.com, or you can go to Bodez on Facebook and like us. We'd love to have you as part of one of our friends there. More than that, we'd love to have you as a member. And if you need the trial workout for the interval training that I told you about today that was went through the research, you can give us a call at 672-6464, and I'll be happy to email it to you. And have a great day. Bodez by Toss & Company, Fitness Friday. We'll see you next week. Getting ready for race week to come into town.
AM 1150 WNDB, Daytona Beach, Daytona's morning news station. Locally owned and operated by Southern Stone Communications.